Think about the most basic promise of civilization. We agree not to harm one another, and in exchange, the state promises to protect us. But what happens when that agreement is broken? To enforce the contract, the state must do the unthinkable. It must intentionally inflict pain, remove liberty, or even take a life. This is the punitive contract, the moment society grants a monopoly on violence to a central authority.
It is a paradox of governance. To protect life and liberty, the state must build a mechanism designed to strip life and liberty away. We must ask not just what is legal, but what justifies the suffering we authorize in our name.
For much of human history, punishment was private. If you were wronged, you or your family sought vengeance. The blood feud.
Which is exactly why the social contract requires a Leviathan. Thomas Hobbes understood that the natural state of man is a war of all against all. To survive, we surrender our absolute right to personal vengeance. We hand the sword to the sovereign. The sovereign acts impartially, applying lex talionis, proportional retribution. This isn't cruelty. It is the foundation of civilization. By guaranteeing that the law will punish the wicked, we free the innocent from living in a state of perpetual, paranoid defense.
But as societies evolved, the nature of the sword changed. The Enlightenment brought a revulsion toward the torture of the public square.
The shift was from punishing the body to disciplining the mind. Early reformers like the Quakers believed physical torture was barbaric. They conceived of the penitentiary, a place of silence and solitude where the offender could reflect, read scripture, and achieve penance. But we must recognize what actually happened. The intention was spiritual salvation, but the outcome was the invention of industrialized incarceration. We simply traded the immediate brutality of the scaffold for the prolonged, invisible violence of the cell.
We cannot lose sight of agency. Immanuel Kant argued that treating someone as a moral agent means holding them responsible for their choices. When we punish a criminal, we are actually respecting their humanity. We are saying, you chose this. You knew the cost. To excuse their behavior as a mere symptom of their environment is to reduce them to an animal, incapable of free will.
But true agency does not exist in a vacuum. When the social contract fails a citizen at every level, through poverty, institutional neglect, or systemic trauma, can the state claim the moral high ground? Retributivism ignores the reality that the playing field was never level. You cannot balance a moral ledger when the currency itself is corrupt.
This tension reveals three distinct visions of justice. The first is the scale, retribution, a cosmic balancing of weights, demanding pain for pain. The second is the fence, deterrence. It does not care about the soul of the offender, only about containing the danger and warning the public. The third is the loom, restoration, not as a broken rule, but as a torn relationship. It demands the arduous, manual labor of reweaving the social fabric between the offender and the victim.
Let us look at the reality of the fence. Utilitarian thinkers like Jeremy Bentham designed systems to maximize social safety.
And deterrence works. The certainty of punishment changes behavior. The state builds the prison to quarantine those who prey on the weak. It is a harsh reality, but a necessary one to preserve the safety of the majority.
Yet isolation rarely cures. The system designed to deter often becomes a mechanism that guarantees recidivism. By stripping individuals of their social bonds and branding them permanently, we do not rehabilitate. We manufacture the very danger we built the walls to contain.
Every framework extracts a cost. A perfect scale demands a cold, mechanical delivery of suffering, regardless of context. A perfect fence treats human beings purely as instruments of social utility, risking their reduction to mere statistics of deterrence. And a perfect loom, the attempt to restore all relationships, demands a level of grace and vulnerability that a traumatized society may be entirely unable or unwilling to provide. The demand for justice is perhaps the most profound human instinct. We cannot survive without order, yet we are forever haunted by the violence required to maintain it.
We find ourselves trapped between the need to hold individuals accountable and the recognition that our institutions are deeply flawed. We punish because the social contract would disintegrate if we did not. But the moment we forget the tragedy inherent in that punishment, we risk becoming the monsters we are trying to protect ourselves from. The punitive contract asks us to look directly into the darkest corner of our society. It forces us to ask what we are trying to achieve when we turn the key. Are we balancing a cosmic scale? Are we building a higher fence? Or are we trying against all odds to mend what is broken? The answer does not just define the guilty, it defines us.